Hey, y'all, I'm Shane Sams, the host of the Membership Masters podcast. I'm a self-employed, location-independent online entrepreneur, and I've built multiple million-dollar memberships online. I've helped thousands of other people start, build, and grow membership sites of their own, and today I'm here to help you too. I started this podcast to help business owners just like you create incredible memberships and subscriptions by interviewing some of the most successful online entrepreneurs in the world, experts in marketing, branding, sales, and retention, everything you need to have an amazing membership site. Today's show is going to be a great one. On this week's Membership Masters podcast, I welcome Scott Voelker of the Rock Your Brand podcast. Scott has been in the membership game for almost 12 years and has built multiple seven-figure brands. Today, Scott is going to share a ton of wisdom on branding, subscriptions, and memberships with you. Everything from Costco-style membership sites and photography to selling physical products on Amazon, and all the information on his new membership site over at brandcreators.com. In today's podcast, you are going to learn how to diversify your traffic strategies to grow your audience and your list, why building congruency in your membership is a key for long-term retention, and how you can future-proof your business by focusing on the skills you build along the way. I had so much fun talking to Scott Voelker, and I know you are going to enjoy today's conversation too. But before we get started, I've got one question that I ask every single week. Are you ready to become a membership master today? All right, let's go. Welcome to the Membership Masters podcast, brought to you by membershipmasters.com. This is the podcast where we teach you how to get and keep more members every single month. I've helped thousands of people start, build, and grow memberships, and I interview some of the biggest membership owners anywhere online. My goal is to help you build $1 million membership of your own. Brick by brick, let's do it together. Come on. Scott Voelker, what's up, man?
What's happening? We finally get to actually hang out and meet in somewhat person, I guess.
Somewhat person, yeah. We're officially social distancing on Zoom or something right now.
Yes, it's something like that. I don't know why, but yeah.
It's funny, man. I was just thinking about I was thinking about this the other day. I was talking to a mutual friend of ours named Grant Baldwin.
Oh yeah,
and it's weird when you get into the online business world. Like the farther you go and the longer you last.
Yeah,
you kind of start realizing how small the world really is. Like you start knowing people, and then you like get into this weird place where it's like your Facebook friends and your circles all like rotate each other like the sun. And that's how I've always felt with you. Like I've known about you for a long time, and like we've never talked before.
Yeah.
So
Same here.
So where better to get to know each other than a podcast? Right?
I know. Well, it was funny because, you were like, I think I posted on a comment in Podcast Movement, the group. Someone had said, can you really make like $1,000 a month on, using a podcast? And I'm like, yes, but it's not 100% like you're not just going to start a podcast and make $1,000 like you're on, like, you're just not going to happen. But I was giving a little bit of tips. You gave some tips, and then you had kind of said, hey man, what you up to kind of thing. And I was like, hey, and then that's where we kind of started our conversation. And I was like, we should probably get on sometime and just chew the fat a little bit and see what we're up to. And you were like, yeah, we should. And then we started Voxering, and then I had a grandbaby. So then that was pushed off a little bit.
That's a bit of a road bump right there, and I had a grandbaby, and it just,
it was 4 weeks early too.
Yeah, man.
4 we've early.
Gosh.
Yeah.
And then like with everything that's been going on this year, man, it's been good though. Like I've found that, it's been as we've all been in the game so long. We've been doing Zoom and stuff. We knew about this before the world found out about it.
Yeah.
But it's been really cool. I felt like I've had more opportunity to get to know people that I've been meaning to reach out to, because we're not on the road and we're not at live events, and we're doing that. So we get to do that. But hey, tell me though more about like, I don't really know a ton about your backstory. I know the highlights I've heard on podcasts and stuff. Right. So like,
Well,
what were you doing
I've got
before
something
this?
for you. You ought to get my book. It's this was released at my conference last year, actually a year ago this year. The Take Action Effect. So there you go, little shameless plug. There you
Shameless
go.
plug, everybody. We'll put that.
It's a
link in
year
the show
old
notes.
today, or not today. It's about probably it was the 19th, I believe. So it's not even quite a year yet. But yes, so a little bit of backstory, real quick. We can dig into any area you want to. But I was working for my father's construction company straight out of high school. Thought I was going to own that company one day. Found out he had a partner, which I'd known for years because they were in business 10 years before I went into business with them. It was like a bad marriage. And I soon seen that this was probably not going to be my path. Got married young. I was 21 when I got married. Had my daughter when I was 22. She's the one that just had her baby at 25. But I soon found that was not going to be my direction. So my wife had said to me one day, she's like, maybe we should start a photography business. And I'm like, wait a minute here. Okay. I don't know about photography. You don't know about photography. I've got like work clothes on. I've got paint, caulk all over my pants and everything. Like I'm just a mess. And, how am we going to do this? And long story short is we figured it out. And within 18 months, I left my father's company. We went on our own, built our own brick and mortar studio, in our house, and then ended up, I left my father's company 18 months after that. And we grew that business to a 6-figure business, brick and mortar, competing with some of the top photography studios in our area. And that's really what set me free, to be able to create my own schedule. I was able to coach my son from Little League all the way up till he was 16 years old. That was important to me. I would have missed out on all that.
That's what we call the flip lifestyle, man. When you get to, you get to do the things everybody else wishes they were doing.
Never would have been able to do that. And in my book, that's basically the Take Action Effect is really about like those moments that we make a decision to take that leap or to trust your instinct or whatever. And then that moment changes everything. Like even maybe how you met your wife. Like I know one night I wasn't going to go out. She wasn't going to go out. We ended up getting dragged out by our friends. We met at a place we never would have been. And now here we are, 3 kids, we've been married 26 years. Never would have happened. Like, so these moments, like I made that choice. My wife kind of nudged me with the photography thing, and then we figured it out. And then I started teaching people photography. And then that's what brought us into the online space. Did my first launch over 11, 12 years ago, blew me away, followed the Jeff Walker model way back in the day when it first came out. And we ended up doing our first $12,000 launch on a $100 product way back in the day before launches were even launches. So that's kind of it in a nutshell. And then kind of gotten into the podcasting world. I started dabbling in e-commerce with Amazon. Obviously, as entrepreneurs, we're always, kind of looking, seeing what's new, what's exciting, and started launching physical products, and then started a podcast. Been over 800 episodes now, and was the Amazing Seller podcast. Rebranded this last year to the Rock Your Brand podcast. And we could talk about why I did that. I was starting to be known as the Amazon guy. I didn't want to be known as that anymore. So then I rebranded, and here we are now with a conference, Brand Accelerator Live. We've done 2 years in a row now. And I have a Brand Creators Academy, which is a membership site, but I also built a membership site in the photography stuff we can talk about too.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, that's it in a nutshell, man. I got a lot of roads we can go down.
It's work. This is the Winding Roads in the Countries podcast. That's
yes.
how I like it. People freak out when I invite them on this show because hold on, I got my Do Not Disturb on here. Let me turn that off. We're podcasting in real time here, people. My wife's texting me. It's funny because I send everybody this message out to people. I'm like, hey, you want to come on this podcast? And everybody's like, yeah, this, that, and the other. And I'm like, yeah, this is cold start, no editing. So
I like
and
it.
And it's like it's on Zoom, so sometimes you talk over each other. But like I added this podcast because as we built our community, we teach memberships primarily as a monetization strategy. Sure. And as people started growing their membership, I didn't think ahead enough to have somewhere for them to go, right? Mm-hmm. Which we all do that, and then we add our Ascension products and things like that. And I was like, man, I could, and I started realizing I know a lot of people. Like I could. At first, it was all like membership owners, but now it's kind of meandering out to, well, who can help membership owners with branding, with YouTube, with whatever. Yeah. And I've started kind of bringing other people. Now, you're in New York, right? Is that where you're from? I
was in New York.
Where are you at now?
I am in South Carolina now. I moved here just about 4 years ago.
Awesome. Now, what was that move for? Did you just want a little warmer climate or get out of the chaos?
It was warmer climate, better taxes, and my son had just graduated high school, so we were able to kind of leave. And my daughter, who's 12 now, She was in elementary, so it was just an easier move when they were in elementary versus him. He was already established in sports. He's good at, at basketball and baseball and kind of had his thing going. So that's when we decided to make the move official, and we did it. And here we are 4 years later.
Boy, I tell you what's hard. I did kind of the same thing you did. I got out of college, and I kind of felt like I was supposed to go in my dad's business. Now, my dad was an insurance agent, right?
Okay.
And my older brother had went in one, and my dad had multiple offices. So that I think it was expected. There was you're going to take this office. You're going to take that office. And once I got in there, man, I realized this is not what I want to do, because I realized I was either going to be working for him or my brother for the rest of my life at that point. Now, I would have my office, but it was not my company, you know? And I was standing, I'm from rural Kentucky, right? I was one day, I was running the office in this little town about 15 minutes north of us, and I was filing claim papers or whatever.
Yeah.
And so I'm just putting these papers in a folder, and I'm the only one there, and it had been a slow day. Not a lot of people had been in, and I leaned on the filing cabinet, and I looked out, and across the way from my dad's office up there was a cow farm, right?
Okay.
So there's 500 herd of cattle, Scott, across the street from me. And I distinctly remember this thought in my head. And I actually told my wife this. When it happened, I was leaning there watching those cows, and like a couple of them were running, and one of them was like swimming in the water, and one of them was drinking. There was like 5 of them just passed out asleep. And I was like, man, look at those cows. I got so jealous of those cows because they just looked so free. And I was like, they were living. They were living their life, their best cow life.
Taking a nap, swimming,
taking a nap, doing whatever they wanted. They had to work a little bit, get back and forth to the barn, but whatever. And I was like, man, I got to do something else. And that's the same thing, dude. And that's what got me into football. I loved football when I was growing up. I got hurt playing football in high school and had to stop playing. And then when I got out of, I said, I'm going to go coach football. And I just started coaching football. And 2 years later, I was coaching college football. That's and then crazy. It was crazy, man. But it's funny how we get to those points in our life where you kind of, like even your wife pushing you into the photography, like you realize you want something different until you do the different thing. It's just like watching cows playing in a field. Did you feel that way in the photography a little bit?
Yeah.
Or?
Well, here's the crazy thing is, okay, and if you're watching this on video, you'll see this. I don't know if you're going to post this, but I'll just point to it.
Yeah, I'd be on YouTube.
There's a book over there on the corner. It's Photoshop 6. I keep that there because that was the first book that I ever bought, ever. And I think it cost me like $50 or $60. It's literally Photoshop 6, the Bible is what it's called, right? And you got to remember, like, I was reading this thing, trying to learn Photoshop and editing way back in the day. I'm talking OS 10 for Mac wasn't even a thing yet, right?
Yeah.
And so it was like OS 9, and it was just, pretty out there. But I also remember telling my father I would never own a computer because I thought they were a waste of time. I told him that, right?
Okay.
So
we all figured that out real fast.
Yeah, we're into the technology side of things now. Now, there was no digital camera yet, though. There was no digital camera. It was still film-based. We were still shooting 35 millimeter and some medium format. But we had to learn it through books. We would go to the local lab. We would pick up lighting books and stuff and do all this stuff. But I was always doubting myself because I never thought I was smart in school. So I never thought I would be smart in college. Never went to college a day in my life. Never was pushed to go to college, by the way. Like a lot of kids are raised like, okay, we got to start thinking about colleges. We got to start thinking about where you're going to go 2 years before you're ready to go. That conversation was never talked about. My father was raised on a farm with his 9 brothers and sisters. And I believe they had kids for more help on the farm, to be honest with you. I'm not even kidding. And so I was raised, you're going to work, you're going to learn a trade. And that was it. So when I'm into that, I'm like thinking to my wife, I'm like, I might be able to figure this thing out with you, but I don't know. Now, she was the artist as far as like she was creative. Like she was the creative one. I was more of the let's figure out the technical side, or even let's figure out the business side. That's where I had my aha that I loved marketing. Like I loved marketing back in the day when I'm trying to fill our spots when it wasn't busy in the holiday rush, right? Like how do I fill the studio with clients on the off season? And that's what sparked me. I was like, I love marketing, period.
That's awesome. That's amazing. Yeah. How many brothers and sisters do you have? Do you have
I just have one sibling. I have one sister. I have some stepsisters from my father got remarried when I was 16, I think. So I have one sister from my mom, the same mother.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so I haven't had a lot of, I guess, support growing up with like having brothers and sisters or ones to even like look towards as like guidance or any of that stuff. Didn't really have it. My dad was my biggest inspiration, still is. He's still alive, 78, I think he is now. But a hard worker and just a great work ethic.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah.
My dad had a bunch of brothers and sisters too, like that, like 9 brothers and sisters. And it's funny, the stories that like, even just in the last 20 years, the shift of like the stories my dad told me were like, we had to kill a hog to eat it. Yeah. And like things like that. Right. Like, and we didn't have lights until I was 12, Right. But then like the stories we tell our kids are like, I remember the first iPhone, son. Oh, it was a primitive device. It was. Right.
Yeah.
And to come from like literally the changes that you see in your industry, like film to digital, right? Like the rise of Photoshop and like all of these things. Like, so when you switched, okay, so you start, does your wife do anything now with the business?
She just basically helps with what I do. Yeah.
That creative stuff and artistic
It's
stuff.
more creative, but also more now community, like helping us with community, getting engagement, like stuff like that.
Oh, now you're speaking my language.
Well, we will. We'll talk
community,
more.
Baby.
I actually want to pick your brain, as we're doing this too.
Pick what that's.
You know what I mean?
We're here to pick. We're here to help each other. No one should ever come on the Membership Masters podcast and not leave and make more money. That's just the way it works.
Yeah,
right
I
here.
agree.
You gotta grow, man. So, like, what was the idea behind? Tell me about the first membership, because you do have a wild story with all the things you've been into. Like, tell me about the membership. Where did that come from? What did you teach? And what was the idea? Like, why did you decide? Because everybody back in the day was like course.
Yep.
So when did you launch that membership, and what did you call it? What was it?
That membership, going back, was probably 2006-ish, something like that. 2007. I'm bad with dates, but it was
way ahead of the game, bro. That's way ahead of the game.
Yeah. And so, but it started with, so I started with a product. Okay. And the way that I really got introduced to products online was before I even launched my course, which was on photography stuff, but it wasn't your typical, like, how to shoot weddings. And like, that wasn't it. Our model was, how can we create a beautiful studio set for someone that we would spend $2,000 to $5,000 on, right? Like, we would buy a special background hand painted on canvas for like $1,800, and then we would create a flooring. Like, it was like you really like leveled it up. So I'm like, how can we create this for other people and then digitally superimpose their shoots, for photographers, their sessions into this beautiful set that they don't have to buy. So I started playing around with green screen. I started playing around with white backgrounds and knockouts and all that stuff. And then I started to master it. So I started basically just selling on eBay digital templates, like how to create, like, now it wasn't even how to, it was like, here, create this thing and you'll get free videos with it. And that was it. And it would sell for like $20. And I was selling a bunch of them. And then it occurred to me that people wanted training through how to actually do it, but then also how to market it. And then that's where I came up with my first course. So the course thing was always stemmed off of the other accessories, if you will, on the outside of like the template-based stuff. And then what we did is we started educating people through the course. So my first course was actually training plus 10 CDs that came with it. Like, literally.
And you just said, and listen, y'all, I heard a nuance there, because I've been around a while. CDs, not DVDs. CDs. The first thing I ever mailed out was a CD on eBay of football playbooks, and it wasn't even a DVD. Like, it was a CD. Like, you couldn't watch this thing. You had to go download it and like look at it, man.
Were you involved when eBay was offering you to do digital downloads though?
No, it's
that
funny.
Was before.
Yeah, man.
They did.
Yeah,
they did offer that.
I know. And so what happened was I was coaching around 2003 or 4, right?
Okay.
I'd been on I'd coached in Alabama a little bit. I'd went up to West Virginia and coached there for a little bit. And like, I had a good network of coaches already. And I talked some guys, some legends to give me their playbooks.
Okay.
And I was selling these playbooks in like 2004. I'd started a website. Dude, listen to this. You want to vomit real quick? I used to own the website xsandOs.com.
Oh, wow.
And I let it go. And I didn't know any better. I was 20 something years old, man. But I used to own the website xsandOs.com, which is like all sports, you know? So
what did you do? Let it expire?
Yeah, I didn't know any better. So I bought this website and I set up and I would sell these playbooks. And I was making, I made like $500 one month. And I was like, oh my, for my apartment in Kentucky.
Yeah, that's beautiful.
Dude, and I got the call from Rich Rodriguez at the University of West Virginia to come coach. And I just forgot all the online stuff. I just let it go. And then we got back into the online world in 2012. I had a really bad experience at work we found out my son was being mistreated in a daycare. Like there was a worker there that was locking him in a bathroom for hours.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was really horrific, man. It was long story short, the daycare got sold and we stuck around because of the people that bought it had worked there in the past. But then they fired all the old people, new people came in, nobody knew what was going on, and all of a sudden, bam, you've got all kinds of horrific things. Nothing sexual or anything crazy, but like psychological torture.
That's nuts.
You know? So anyway, my boss wouldn't let me have the day off work to freaking go deal with it. She just basically said, she told me, I know your son needs you, but your job needs you too. And I'm like, so I was just like, this is crazy. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not working for someone else. So that's what pulled me back in. As I remembered, well, I made some money on eBay. What else is out there? You know? But I didn't. No, I was mailing CDs, man, back in 2004, not knowing anything in the world.
It was like the gold rush, man, because they had like the penny ebooks like they were selling, and that was just a lead generator for eBay. And then eBay had finally put a stop to it, and they're like, you got to ship stuff now. So I was doing stuff, and it was beautiful. It was like my first taste of like someone bought something, they downloaded. I didn't have to do anything. It was like immediate, like it was awesome.
Sorcery.
Yeah. And then they introduced that you had to, so I'm like, all right, I'll just print them out. So I bought a printer that you could print your own CDs and then, send them through. So my first course, I had 10 CDs. Those 10 CDs, 8 of those were like digital templates. And then the other 2 were basically the training. But I remember buying this little booklet that you would open up and you would slide the CDs in, and I'd have to print them all by, one-offs. So I'd be like, oh, we had 75 of these sold. Like our first launch, we did over 75. So we had to print out all of those CDs, put them in the book, print a jacket, slide them in, and then mail them out. And it was great, but now I look back at it, I'm like, that was a lot of work.
And also printers back then were not like the printers now. Like it took like 30 good seconds for one CD, man, to get it printed out, right?
Yeah, good quality. It was like, zzz, zzz, and it's just going by. You're like, oh, it's almost there, But yeah, so that was like the big thing. So what we did from there is I started to see that, okay, these people like these templates. I'm still creating new templates and then selling them on eBay all the time. Maybe what I should do is start a membership. But I started thinking this, and I liked this model for this reason. Do you know of like there's BJ's Warehouse, or there's another one too that's maybe that's an East Coast one, but it's the other one is kind of like a Costco where you pay a membership fee
right
to get discounts, right? It's basically you're paying a yearly fee to get discounts. I'm like, that's a beautiful model. So what if I charge people $10 a month and they would get one free template a month and they would get a video training per month? But then if they wanted to buy any of the other ones that we sell externally on eBay, they'd get them for half price, and we sell them for $19. I'm like, maybe we'll do that. So I ended up launching that model, and I ran with that for over 7 years.
Yeah.
That model was great because I had just over 1,000 members paying me $10 a month back then. And then from there, they would come every month, they would renew, but then every month I would have a new 1 or 2 or maybe 3 that they would buy for, anywhere from, depending on how the, main price, because they would get 50% off whatever they were selling for.
Dude. So basically you created this, so one of the big things, of course, in memberships is getting people to engage with the membership. That's what makes them pay month after month and year after year. You created this thing where it's like every time you send them the new training and the new template, you're just creating an open the mail situation basically, where they're like, oh, I got to go buy a couple more. That one's cool. You have built-in marketing, so it's like the engagement was actually even sales for like, and
they're getting discount, right? So they're like, I'm getting 50% off, so I might as well use it, right? So that worked really well because then what I would do is I would maybe every, I don't know, 2 months, I would come up with a bigger bundle that I would sell externally. Maybe it was $100 and I would sell it to them for $49.
But you're still selling it, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah,
that's right.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah,
exactly.
That's brilliant, dude.
So it was a really good model. It worked really well. And that's when I started the podcast on the Amazon side of things because I was just dabbling. I'm like, I'm just going to dabble in this thing. And I started to play around in that world. And the first year of just dabbling, I generated over 300 grand in just, sales on Amazon. And I'm like, this might be something. And then, so I started a podcast on it just to share my experience. Didn't know where it was going to go. And remember even saying to my wife, I'm not sure if I'm even going to start this podcast. I mean, who's going to listen? I mean, I'm helping some people in a Facebook group, this, that, and the other thing.
What year was this?
That was 2014.
Yeah, that's right when we started the podcast too. Yep. Yeah, and that's pretty early in podcasting, honestly. Like people don't realize, like we feel like podcasts are ubiquitous now, but like back then there was a bunch of them, but there was a handful too. It was not like a big thing, right?
No,
and it was kind of magic, like even getting it out there.
It really was, and I didn't know where it was going to go, but then I started seeing some momentum, and I remember I didn't make any money until my 50th episode, and that was through an affiliate offer for a tool that helped you find products on Amazon called Jungle Scout.
So do you not run that Photoshop membership anymore? Did that shut down, or is it just rolling?
It was going still as I was doing the podcast, and then all of a sudden it was becoming like it was starting to become a chore. And I was like, I think it's time to take my attention, focus it more here. But it didn't happen until I actually, and we can go through that. I sold my first course through this new podcast, sold out in 1 minute flat, 25 early adopters, if you want to call them that, for $497 on a webinar after I built up all this trust and relationships. But then once I seen that starting to take off, I'm like, I don't really know if I want to deal with this over here anymore. Yeah. I think it's time we close that chapter in the book and we move on.
Did you close it or sell it?
No, we didn't sell it. We basically just kind of let it kind of dwindle a little bit. Like people would they would renew. I had monthly and I had yearlies. So what I ended up doing is I was still giving them their one, right? I was still doing that stuff. But then once I seen that I wasn't going to be able to do it, I just basically just took, at that time, we might have had 100 members paying still.
Oh, okay. So you just let attrition kind of take over.
Yeah. I just let attrition take care of it kind of. And then anybody that was still a member, I just sent them an email and just said, we're no longer going to be offering this as a membership. We may introduce like bundles and stuff in the future because we may still repackage a lot of this stuff because we got a lot of templates and stuff. Yeah, and we might just go ahead and create another entity to do that. But
so this membership didn't have any community component necessarily. It was just product based.
It really just had a little bit of a Facebook group, but I didn't really pay much attention, but that was not the driver. The driver was get a template every single month, a fresh one that you can implement in your business. Right. And then from there also have access to additional ones. And especially around Christmas time, I mean, we would really ramp it up for our store. We would add more into the store so they'd have more to choose from and also more to buy.
This is interesting because so we had a couple similar experiences. Like we had multiple memberships at one point. Like we had this football coaching thing. We had Jocelyn's core website was called elementarylibrarian.com, where she sold lesson plans to schools. Mm-hmm. I still have a website called ushistoryteachers.com, which is still thriving and doing its thing. And it's funny, like because we had all these options when Flipped Lifestyle took off. Kind of the same thing. Like we did the beta launch, 25 people took it and we're like, holy crap, people are buying this thing.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
But then we had to start looking like at opportunity costs, right? Like when Flipped Lifestyle took off, Elementary Librarian was killing it, man. I mean, it was just passive. It was beautiful. US History Teachers was taking off-ish. Football coaching was making good money. But we had to make all these choices. Like Elementary Librarian, we sold straight up because we had a lot of recurring revenue. It was a 7-figure deal. There was no reason, right? But then Coach XO, my old football website, we kind of were like, do we want to sell that? But it was almost like, I think I want to keep all this in my back pocket for later. Let's just let it wind down. Yep. And then US History Teachers has always kind of been the stepchild / security blanket, right? Like it's there. It doesn't take a lot of work. And it's like Abraham Lincoln will always be the 16th president. So we can keep selling that bad boy, right?
Right.
But like so what went into that decision of, because you have this thing, you've got members and recurring revenue is gold when you're selling an asset, right?
Sure.
That's all they look at, to be honest with you. So why did you decide to choose the attrition route to unwind this membership and go a different direction? Then, hey, I wonder if we can sell this thing.
I think because a lot of it had to do with me being the face of it.
Okay.
Right. And so it's hard to sell like when they're buying into Scott, even like right now, like what I do, for brand creators, like that's our main hub. It's a lot of it is they're coming for Scott, right? The podcast leads them in. It's a lot of me. I just got into Airbnb. I know you talk a little bit about real estate. We just bought a lake house, which is crushing it last year. And that's something that I'm interested in because I don't have to do anything with it. It's not a face, right? It has nothing to do with me. So because it had to do with me, I was thinking to myself, I'm like, if I was to sell this, I'm still gonna have to be a part of it, or we're gonna have to start introducing new contributors, and then they're gonna have to understand what the people had signed up for and what they're going to deliver with the same style, the same creativity, like all of that. So it was like too much effort for where it could go, and I'm like, I just want to go over here. I want to focus over here, and that's really why. It wasn't. I think we probably could have sold it, but it would have required more work on my end to get it ready to sell.
Yeah, for sure. That's
you know what I mean?
going through, and for anybody out there, when you sell a business, primarily what they look at is recurring revenue, or at least where sales are coming from. Like, is that part kind of automated? And it's always a multiple of months or years based on recurring revenue. That's usually how they're valued, right? But there is a real weird cost. Like elementary librarian, we had to do the same thing. Like Jocelyn was the elementary librarian, not this is an elementary librarian talking. No, she positioned herself with her picture and everything. And she did something really interesting. She created a cartoon caricature of herself and was able to kind of slide a hand it in there. And within a month or two, that kind of became the elementary library. It was more of a concept at that point.
Gotcha.
Right. But when I watched her unwind that website from her, I was saying the same thing you were. I was like, I don't want to do that. Like, it was crazy amounts of work, dude, because you have to comb through pages and shift the culture of your audience. And it's a lot of freaking work, man.
Yeah, it is.
Especially when you've got another oil well sprung up already and you're like, oil, 100%. Come over here. We got to dig deeper. Right.
Yeah. And I was more excited about it.
Yeah.
Like I'd done that for so long. It's done okay. I think I brought it to where the potential was. It was a very niche market. Not every photographer wants to use a digital element in their business. They want real, right? So I knew there was a small subset there, and I knew that we were really tapping it as hard as we could. Yeah. But in the same breath, I was kind of burned out and bored, to be honest with you. I was just kind of like, and then this new thing happened, and I've always wanted to kind of be on the mic. I mean, my background is like when I was a kid, I had long hair. I wanted to be a rock star. So it's like, that's why the Rock Your Brand podcast, we just rebranded. And it's like, I don't know. I just woke up one day and I'm like, this feels better. You know what I mean?
Awesome.
And, and it's crazy though, Shane, because you think about it, like when that was happening, well, here, let's back up. The construction thing, once I left that to go to photography, I'm like, man, if we can make this thing work, it's going to be amazing. We made it work. We're working for ourselves. I'm going to my son's, all of his games. We're really just living the life. Then all of a sudden that became a job. And I'm like, there's got to be something better. Online. Yay. Here it is. It's working. All right. This is awesome. Then all of a sudden, 6 years goes by, 7 years. Wait a minute. There's something new over here. And then you start running that. Well, same thing with the podcast. I was doing that the Amazing Seller podcast for over almost 5 years. And then it was like, this is feeling heavy. I want something more exciting. I want something that gets me lit up again. Brand building, marketing. Like that's what I want to talk about. So that's where I'm at today. Not saying that's where I'm going to be 5 to 7 years from now. Right. But I think you can attest to that. It's like, I think we're always looking for exciting things, but also what makes us feel as though we're going in the right direction right now.
Yeah.
Right?
I was listening to, I think it just came out today. This morning I was listening to your podcast with Grant Baldwin. We talked about it earlier. Thespeakerlab.com for all you aspiring speakers out there.
Yes.
But it was interesting when you all were talking about, every career or job, even this, like some people look at what we do and they're like, oh, it's all fun and games. Like, no, it's not. You still have to meet with your team and do all this leadership stuff and all that.
Yeah.
But like, like the work part of it, you got to pick up the shovel if you're going to get a ditch at the end of the day.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
but like I think it was Grant was saying like you have to like 80% of what you do, or it's probably not worth it.
Mm.
And I think that evolution is happen if you don't embrace that you're not going to be doing the same thing 5 years from now. You're probably not going to be an entrepreneur very long, because the set it and forget it. I found what I'm going to do forever. I ain't found it yet. I don't know about you, man.
No,
but
still
I just
looking.
don't. I don't think it exists. And I was introduced to a book last year. I think Grant actually read this book, and then he did it. It's called Vivid Vision. What's his name? Cameron is his last name. Oh gosh, the guy. I think he wrote Good to Great, or he's a part of Good to Great, or something like that.
Okay.
But anyway, it's this little book about 100 pages long. And Grant actually went around and interviewed a bunch of mentors, like really awesome, like people. But he was like, I'm going to interview people who are 60 and killing it, not like us in their 40s and killing it. Because I don't care about what you guys think right now. I want to know where I'm going, right? So he's telling us this at our mastermind retreat. And I'm like, thanks, man. Love you too, bro. And like, but it made sense though, right? So he went out and he created this 36-month vision. For what the speaker lab would look like, how it would change with him not in it. And he kind of created a way to evolve his own role, but still keep his brand evolving. And I thought that was so smart and so wise, because we've both been through the, I'm doing it. It's working. We're killing it. This sucks. I got to do something different. Right. And like that's going to happen. So I actually just went through this process too. And you ought to read that book, dude. It's really good. And
no, I will definitely.
But it gives you that, not long-term vision. It's more like it wants you to cap it at 3 years, but it makes you think about like, what is the next iteration going to look like? Like I could see a place where, like right now I'm like you, I want to talk all the time. I love meeting people like you. I freaking get to talk to people. My job's stupid, you know? But like, I want to evolve eventually where I could see me having like other podcasts that someone else hosts, but it's still under the Flipped Lifestyle brand, you know? And it's interesting, as entrepreneurs, the older you get, the more wise you get. I mean, grandbabies start showing up, whatever. You start thinking about that, man. Like, what is? But then you realize, I'm a master. That's why this podcast is called Membership Masters. Like, I get to pick the next iteration now. I get to future pace it, right? And I get to go do the thing. And I think that's I feel that coming from you now. You're like, I got control. I'm doing what I want, and I can now. Before I didn't see this sucks coming, and now I kind of do, right?
You built the skills though, right? I mean, it's like construction, right? Like literally, I just got done with our virtual event on Saturday, and I'm a big believer now. Like I can afford to have stuff done, for my house and stuff, right? I mean, I had my whole lake house Airbnb all done over, all remodeled. I didn't touch it, right? But I'm looking over there because I'm laying new floor in my own house right now. I'm like, why, right? Why am I doing this? Right. Well, part of it is because it's like $7,000 in savings. So I'm like, well, that's $7,000. It'll take me a couple days. It's probably going to take me more like 4 to 5 because I'm really not that young anymore, So, but it's like when you look and see like, what are you doing right now? You've built skills that will take you to where you're going to go next. And I'm a big believer in that. Like I developed skills way back in the day. Like I was pulling nails out of some baseboard molding, and there was a trick that we used to do with a pair of pliers to just pull them back so you don't punch them through. And I'm like, I learned this back when I was 23 years old. Yeah. And I'm using that skill right now. Same thing goes in marketing, email list building, same as it was when I first started. It's just evolved a little bit, right? But it's people and how do you deliver value? And then, how do you get people to basically push over on the other side and come join you? Like there's marketing, there's messaging, there's relationships, there's all of that stuff that you can continually learn. But these are skill sets that I feel like we have now. And no matter where we want to go, we can do it. And I just think that's
faster.
The big thing.
And faster too. Get there faster. It's easy to build the second brand, and it's a lot easier to build the third brand than the first brand. Yeah. And it just keeps getting better and better. You can almost churn this stuff out in a weekend if you want to make a pivot, Yeah. I love your, one of the things you say a lot, and I think this is really relevant in branding for a membership, because the membership model, like we kind of view it almost as like I don't know. I drink my own Kool-Aid. I'm just like, why would I not just go get 1,000 people to pay me $85 a month? That seems easier than course sale, right? But like you talk about future-proofing your brand. That's one of your taglines, basically.
Yep.
I learned something very valuable this year, and I'd love for you to comment on that, like especially since you've been in the membership game and future proof, like what future proofing looks like for people. A lot of people don't think about this coming up because your first goal is probably to replace your income. Your second goal is to make sure you don't have to go back to work. Then your third goal is to, wow, what's the next level look like? And when the coronavirus started back in, I don't know, early March, mid-March or whatever, like every business owner, I looked over at my wife, who's my business partner, and I was like, wow, we better think about the next 6 months, because if they're going to shut down the world like this, that's going to crush the economy. A crazy thing happened though. Our business grew, and not just Flip Lifestyle. Like that one makes sense. It would grow. People are losing their job. They're looking for alternatives. Right. But my education company grew. Our other companies grew. Right. The only thing we kind of bailed out of a little bit was some real estate, because I was like, wow, they're going to freeze rents. That's going to suck. I don't want to pay that, So I sold one of my properties, kept another one. I'm cool. Right. But I realized at that moment, people say recession proof, but I don't like that. That's stupid. Nobody's invulnerable to market forces, right?
Yeah.
But if you think about future proofing your brand, spreading your risk with a membership is a really good way to do it. Like we have members in every state in Flip Lifestyle. We have them in all over the world, and even the coronavirus and the economic turmoil hit different regions in different way. And I was like, oh my gosh, like this. Maybe it is future proof. Maybe it is recession proof. Like people are always going to, as long as we're providing something they always need. So what do you mean when you say that for a brand? Like, I think it's very interesting you chose to make that such at the forefront of your brand and in your descriptions and everywhere is like for future proofing your brand. Like, what do you mean by that?
Well, there's a couple different sides of it. So it starts with you really, and you building your own skills that you'll have no matter if you got wiped out tomorrow. So if you took everything from me, you closed down all my sites, you closed down everything, I'm still going to make money. Like I'm that confident that I'm going to go make money. Even if I got to go knock on the local businesses and say, hey, you probably need some more leads in here. I'll go ahead and I'll get you some more leads in here. Like I think, okay, so the brand itself is you. So if you're running the brand, then you are the one that's creating the future proof at the forefront. Like it's you. Right. Or the people that you can hire because you know what needs to be done. So I don't want to do Facebook ads. I'm going to go give you my Facebook ads person that I would use. Right. So I'm just saying like the skill set that you have, it's all about future proofing you really. Now the business, but the business side of things is diversification. It's all about diversification. So like we teach a lot of people, very similar to you, is like, okay, how do I find a niche market? And then how do I give them what they need? We also talk about creating good content that resides out there as a digital asset. It could be maybe just a PDF that's free that you're going to, give away as a lead magnet, or maybe it's going to be content that you're going to get found and searched for on Google. So you have that asset that's always working for you. Maybe it's YouTube, whatever it is. You want to have diversification on traffic and diversification on revenue. No matter what you do, it does not matter.
That is gold. I just want to make sure everyone listening to this hears that, because this is something I honestly have learned in the last year. Diversification of traffic.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That is something that nobody talks about enough. And I didn't, because we're all so focused on planting our seed in our niche.
Yep.
And then we forget, or our podcast. We're trying to grow our podcast. Oh, I got a podcast. What if the algorithm changes? Right. Which happened to us last year. We were in the top 20 all the time for marketing. Apple changed 1 week, and it was, and we just, our audience cut in half. Right. So like, dude, diversification of traffic. That is freaking amazing.
Yeah. Of traffic. And I mean, there's certain channels, right? Like, Pinterest is a great, traffic source. I like Pinterest for certain brands, not all brands, but I like Pinterest because it amplifies your content, but it's also one channel. So if Pinterest, which they are very known to do, change the algorithm, and all of a sudden your traffic goes away for a little while, you need something else. So then you get your email list. Well, that's another, traffic source. Or maybe you have blog content that's ranking on Google, or maybe you have some YouTube videos that are starting to get traffic. Like whatever it is, I look at it like planting seeds that are evergreen, not this amplification on Instagram. To be honest with you, I don't like Instagram.
I'm with you, bro.
I don't like anything that requires me to feed it every day. Like,
yeah,
I don't
man.
want
Like
to feed
stories.
stuff.
I don't
I don't
post
want to do it.
stories.
No.
It's like they go away. Why would I do that? That doesn't make any
And
sense
I
to
see
me,
so many
you know?
people, it's like part of their strategy. They're like, I got to do this, and then I got to go over here and I got to put that in there. And I was starting to feel that. And I think that's another lesson for people. Stop comparing yourself to what everyone else is doing, because you don't have to do it all.
Yeah.
And if it doesn't feel right, if it feels heavy, don't do it.
Yeah. We have a
which
rule.
is something else I learned last year.
Yeah. We have a rule for batching. Like, it's actually, I mean, there's a difference between like mission, core values, and then I guess like core values is like belief systems, right? But like there's also like guidelines, I think, for your company, like that are like ones. The mission is the big thing, the core values are the next thing, and then you got all the things that we really do, on a day-to-day basis. I don't know what you call those. I've never heard anybody call that anything, so I'm just going to call it what I ever want to call it. That's Shane's guidelines for your good running your business practices. Okay,
that's right.
But like we actually have a rule that's like, can we batch it? That's a big thing. And also, will it be evergreen? Like we ask ourselves that before we even, like, I don't teach things that aren't evergreen publicly because it doesn't make sense. That means it's going to be old. And like, you can't, evergreen's kind of I don't know, it's a myth, like passive income, right?
Right.
So like,
right.
you can't really make things totally evergreen, but there are conceptual things that will stand the test of time for a while. And if you just start like people jump into bots. Remember bots about 2 years ago?
Yeah.
Everybody was like, I got a course about bots. I never got into it. Never installed one. And I'm like, this is stupid. That thing, that bot is going to change. So whatever bot company's selling bots now, the next bot's going to be better. And why would I learn how to teach something that is a fad or in the moment and it's going to disappear?
Right?
Or a hack. Yeah. Why would you? I don't understand. But it's tempting because there's so much to be gained in the short term.
Well, and it's exciting, right? It's something new. Can I get this thing to work? This is cool. It's a new funnel. It's this, that. It's like, you can go down that road.
I had you do a lot of podcasts too, and I've done some podcasts, and but like just this week, we had a Forbes article written about us in 2016.
Nice.
I think that's what it was. So like that's what, almost 5 years ago now, right? Going on the fifth year, like early 2016. So like that thing just produced a member for me. You talk about like that, diversifying your traffic,
absolutely,
getting out there, picking channels, going on interviews. Don't just run Facebook ads, run Google ads too, just in case. Like, how do you guys diversify your traffic sources right now?
Well, okay, so it depends on the business, but typically right now, like if we're talking brand creators, it's like podcast to me is number one, but I don't look at the podcast as me being found in search, because I don't feel a lot of people are just going and searching for a how-to, or they might be interested on a topic and then they might binge for a little bit, but then they could be gone. I think it's more of like, if you listen to this podcast, you might like this one. Like you're found there more. I think I could be wrong. I don't go at podcasting for search. I go for relationships, or people can find, and then once they find, they binge, and then once they become binge worthy, then they start going through other things to find you. I think blog content and getting it indexed in Google is something that I probably could do a better job on, but that's something I'm always looking at. I think that's a good one. I think building the email list is another one. YouTube, I got mixed feelings on that. I started it and it did well, and then it started tapering off. It's one of those algorithm things, right? But I'm still feeding it because I'm batching. Like you said, it's part of my batch process. It goes up there. Oh, you get a few hundred views. Okay, great. You might get one that gets 5,000 views, but it's not, I'm not banking on it.
That's interesting. That's interesting.
Yeah.
So tell me more about, I know you got more strategies, but like YouTube's interesting. We're trying to go that route a little bit. You have been going that way a little bit.
Yeah.
And I see my colleagues and friends having some YouTube success, but what do you think is the reason that one, why are you having mixed feelings, other than, is it because it feels like they're those video games like World of Warcraft where you got to grind? Is it because it feels like a grind, or what do you mean?
Yeah. Okay. So when I started the YouTube channel for the podcast, The Amazing Seller, before it was the Rock Your Brand podcast, it basically was just me repurposing literally a static image, not even a waveform at the time. And all I was doing was taking the audio and putting it up, and it would have a title and it would have what the session was about. And that was it. And that built that channel to like 16, 17,000 subscribers just from doing that. No like how-to content. I mean, the content was how-to, but it wasn't visually content. And then I'm like, well, maybe I should start putting up some videos, and maybe And then I started doing that, got a little bit of traction, and then it started petering out a little bit. And then I'm like, you know what, maybe what I'll do is I'll video the podcast and repurpose it. Now it's not just a static image. It'll do better. And I'll be publishing, basically 3 times a week on YouTube. Did that, didn't really see much. So I'm like, do I sit here and try to figure out this thing, or do I just go over here and pay Facebook ads to bring them over to a lead magnet with the right people and try to build my email list? Is that easier? That's easier to me. I'm going to do that versus trying to figure out the free angle.
Yeah. Organic traffic is really hard, no matter what platform you pick, man.
It really is, and it's a constant thing. But I also, and we can talk about this, I closed down a group of 58,000 people here recently.
Oh, we got to talk about that. I have that in my notes. Yeah. So why did you do that? This is a good pivot. Like, why did you do that then? Because now you have a traffic source. What happened?
That started when the podcast started very, very early on. I think maybe 6 months after I started it, because I wanted to take the conversation and have it be picked up over here. Well, what happened is I started to change my messaging, my topics. It wasn't all Amazon focused, and people were still joining the group because they were now finding the group through other suggested groups. They weren't coming there because of me. They were coming there because, oh, I see this group is related to this group. And then they were coming in. Then we started getting a ton of spam. I mean, I had 3 moderators in there, and it was just terrible. So it was on all the time. And then, so from there, I'm like thinking to myself, and I did the whole rebrand, and we can talk about that too if you want to after, but I did the whole rebrand, and I'm like, I don't even know if these are my people anymore. I don't even know these people, right? I post in there with my Facebook lives or whatever, but I don't know if they're my people. And you know what I want to do? I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to try to extract the people that are still with me, right? That are in that group, not over here, but in this group. And I don't care if it's 200 people. I want it to be 200 of the right people. And that's what I ended up doing. I literally said, you know what? I made that decision on a Friday. That's Monday. I made the announcement, and I basically I archived it. So it's still there. And then I just told people, and I got a lot of people saying, glad you're doing this. And I had a few people that said, wow, you're taking away a great community, whatever. And I'm like, well, it's still there. You can access it. You just can't post.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That's such a good lesson though. What I hear is all these traffic sources, even going back to YouTube or emails or blogs, there are cores. I'm with you on email. I'm an email marketer. Yeah. If someone asks me what I do, I'm a podcaster and an email marketer. Now we can talk about how I do that, but that's what I am.
Yep.
But even with the Facebook group, even with these traffic sources, what I love hearing your story, and this is really important for memberships, because you have to be able to say no and pivot fast. And when you figure out something ain't right, it will kill the monetization side of your business really quick. Because if you start, for example, say I have a membership community, which number one thing we focus on every day is culture. I have an employee in charge of the community, right? And her job is to lead and protect the culture of the community, because that's what keeps people paying. Retention's more important to me than new sales, right?
Yeah, I agree with you.
But if I've got a huge random group that I built through a summit that I hosted or whatever, and all those people aren't the same people that should be over here in this membership. And if you start just taking anybody and flooding anybody in and getting this I'll take anyone mentality in your Facebook group, then the spammers come and the bad apples get in, and the bad apples spoil the bunch. And all of a sudden, you can't just take all traffic. You got to make sure there's a filter, or you're going to ruin the monetization of your business. And that's what I hear that you've done a really 100%. Good job of, man.
100%. And it was one of those things though, we start to fall into the comparison game, and I've fallen into that trap. And everyone likes numbers. They're like, oh, wow, 58,000. That's a lot. He must be big. He must have a big audience. I do, right? A lot of podcast listeners. We just crossed 16 million downloads on the podcast. So yeah, there's a lot of listens, right? But in the same breath, I don't care about that. I learned something last year too that I think I should bring up. And that is, when you arrive to a certain area of success that you think you were going to feel, doesn't necessarily mean that that's really the way it's going to feel. And what I mean by that is last year, I did so much. I actually did too much. I ran a $25,000 inner circle with 10 people. I wrote my book I put on my first ever event with over 250 people. Podcasting still 3 times a week, was still selling my course, didn't have my membership as of yet for this, which we can talk about that, but did all that stuff. And I ended up getting shingles twice.
Dude, just from stress probably. And like time.
Exactly what it was from.
Yeah, man.
It was from stress. And my wife, she's like, listen, I don't know like what's going on, but you got pulled back because there's nothing worth you friggin' killing yourself.
Yeah.
And it's not that it was exciting. It was fun. It was everything I wanted to do. I just didn't need to do it all at once.
Yeah.
And so I stripped it all away.
Yeah. The live event was, I bet the live event was part of it. We 2 years ago, we started doing a live event for 100 people.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Here was my sign that we should probably figure that out better. So we did it and we sold the tickets. We were shocked. Like that, we got people to fly from halfway around the world. Me and Jocelyn did all the content both days, like 8 keynotes basically.
Wow.
So listen to this, dude.
That's nuts.
So like, both years, about 2 weeks before the event, half of our staff quit. So like the first year, 2 weeks before, we had half of our people quit, and they're just like, I can't take this, and I'm like. And then the next year we're like, okay, we got it figured out this time. They quit after the live event. So we did it a little better, right? But like, man, when you start piling those things on, dude, so how would you have done that differently? So there's a lot of people out there that listen to this podcast that are like, I'm successful. I'm making a 6-figure membership. I'm doing it. I'm growing.
Sure.
Do you think that how could you have handled that better where you still could have accomplished those things? Would you have hired more people, laid it out on a different timeline? Like, what would that have looked like?
Well, no, I don't think I didn't understand that adding those things on was going to add that much stress. I think the live event was a big one because, what a lot of people don't understand is you don't make a lot of money from an event. If you're profitable the first year,
any.
Right?
Right.
If you make any, it's a bonus, right? And you're on the hook in our case, we were on the hook for about 130 grand, whether anybody showed up or not.
Yeah.
So it's like, you're on the hook, man. So people got to fly. They got to book their room. They got to book it under your block. You got food and beverage. You got all that sponsors. You got all that stuff that's moving. So that was stress, but that was like my highlight of the year. Like that was amazing. I launched my book there. So that was the thing I was doing.
Oh, the day of, bro, is hype. I mean, you feel like a rock star, it
was absolutely amazing. I launched my book to all of these people. I did a book signing. I sat there in a signing line for like 4 hours, greeted with everybody. It was the best day of my life last year, but also leading up to it, it was very stressful. And I was going to do it again this year before we had, the whole Corona thing, but we just finished up our virtual event, which we're going to try to do a live event next year again, Brand Accelerator Live 2021. But the book, the event, then a high-level mastermind, and then also the lake house. I didn't even put that on there. We did a full lake house. What was that? That was in February, and it took us till June before we actually had it renovated and everything. About 200 grand in renovations, right down the lake. Turned out great, but that was another thing we added to the mix. So what would I have done differently? I would have probably spaced it out a little bit more, but I wouldn't have known that these things were what they were unless I did it. So the $25,000 mastermind, I did it. I enjoyed it, but it was actually not what I want to do for a full year commitment. I don't want someone to commit to me for a full year, and I don't want to commit to someone for a full year. And what I learned from that is I'd rather do like a 2-day, which I did, a 2-day master shop at my lake house for 2 days for $4,500, but we'll do 3 of those a year. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and then it's just, I think you don't know until you start doing it, what you like and what you don't. But I've got so much more clarity now on what I want, and I've just stripped it all away.
Yeah. I've always viewed it as like a comedian. I'm a big believer. Like I love studying stand-up comedy. Like I like to watch the magician's hands. I like to try to figure out the trick,
Yeah.
And I find that most of the great comedians, the ones that are controversial, are actually very similar to the great entrepreneurs that I admire. Mm-hmm. They push past the line. Everybody's scared of the line. Like they're scared of getting to that point where they get shingles twice in a year.
Right.
But you can't really figure out what you want until it hurts, or
Mm.
what your actual capacity. It's like
It's true.
benching. You can't.
Yeah.
You gotta almost pull a pec every once in a
Gotta
while.
max out, man.
You gotta max out, man. You know,
Yeah.
and like that's
Yeah.
what entrepreneurs need to do. I think
Yeah.
that might be a mindset issue I've never even addressed with our community. Is are you tiptoeing toward the line, or are you pushing past the line? Because until you push past the line, you're not going to know how many members you can lead. You're not going to know how much you can charge for your membership. And you're going to have to kill sales for a month because you overcharge to dial back to get to the point of your membership. So right. I love that, man. You push past the line and you pull back. But pulling back is where some people don't do too. That's another mistake, is you push past it and you look around and say, well, Gary Vee posted 97 posts last week, and you try to do it too. And then you kill yourself, and you're out of business because you really burnt yourself out. You know?
Yeah.
It's that sweet spot, I guess, what we're looking for.
It is the sweet spot. And it's also, I think, it's at the point now for me, like, okay, I'm 48, right? And I'm like, man, I want to be around. Like, I want to be around here for my family first and my community second. And it's like, that's what's most important to me. But I can't if I don't take care of myself. And part of taking care of yourself is reducing the amount of stress that you have in your life. So it's not about me being able to brag and go, look at me, you know, 7-figure business owner, you know, you want to be like me. No, if all you need to make is $65,000 a year, then that's all that you should want to strive for right now, right?
That's right.
Get to that place. Don't get there because you think that being successful is a 7-figure business.
Yeah.
That might not be for you. You might not need to live that life, you know, like, it's okay. Man,
I got a guy in our community. His name's Kenny Troiano. I talk about him all the time. He sends me a message. I think he listens to everything I do. I got to meet him out in San Diego. We're having a meetup at an event I spoke at, and he came out. He wasn't at the event. Look, this guy has the greatest life ever, dude. He became an international expert in raising backyard chickens.
Nice.
Right. So he had a podcast that was really popular, and he was selling like this little like magazine or news, or maybe he was writing articles for newsletters or something. I don't know what he was doing. He was writing articles about raising chickens. Okay. And he heard our podcast and he found the membership model, and he launched his membership, and he goes and gets like 120, 130 members. Not a huge high ticket thing, right? I mean, you know, imagine 100 people, 120 people paying you $40 a month or something, right?
Sure.
Dude, that's the happiest dude I know. He gets to go out in his backyard and raise his chickens. He gets to help other people raise chickens. This is cool. I mean, I want to grow like everybody else, but I'm good. I get paid to talk about chickens. And I'm like, man, that's it. Yeah. That's where you're trying to get to, man. You know? Yeah. You talk a lot about branding. I mean, branding is what you're all about, right? Are there like 3 like specific things? Like did you launch the membership community for this? For what you do now?
Yeah, we just did it after we did Brand Accelerator Live last year. That was the aha that we should do this. That you know, we should launch. Yeah.
All right. So what do you do from a branding perspective? Like tactically, like these, I call them EDDs. We used to have these, when I was a football coach, we had everyday drills, right? Like a defensive back better backpedal every day of his life. Right. So like, what are those like fundamental things, like as you're building this brand, those skills that you've picked up and all the other things you've done that do carry through, that like people who are building a membership and they realize they built a community and this community is turning into a brand, right? Like, what are those like EDDs, man, that people should be doing from a branding level, like branding? And like, what do you think of when you say the word brand? I think that's kind of a nebulous topic. Yeah. And then what do you do to grow it?
It's funny because the reason why I started pivoting towards like the brand thing was because in my previous life, which was 2 years ago, in the Amazon space, everyone was just finding a product or a few products and selling them on Amazon, and that was their business, right? So they were just selling products. That's it. And they didn't care if it was, you know, a globe, you know, and they found out that it's selling well, they were going to sell that. And if they were going to sell fidget spinners or whatever, right, they were like, I'm going to do that. And then competition would come in and knock them off, and then everybody would be competing on price, and then no one would make any money. So I'm like, this is stupid. Like, why are we doing this? Like, we should be building a brand that represents, you know, basically congruency all the way through, where products are going to help them or content is going to help them. And how do we do this? We also, you know, take an email list and we build that, and we get to communicate with these people, and then we don't have to worry about competition. So it really stemmed from kind of going full circle, where I was like, wait a minute here, all these people are doing it wrong. they're complaining that they just launched a product. They spent $3,000 to $5,000 to source a product, get it landed, get it in the Amazon warehouse, and then find out 10 other people are selling the same identical thing just with a different sticker on it. And wondering, how the hell am I going to get around this? And so that's where it really came to me. I need to teach people how to build a brand. And to you and I, it's just common, right? Like, it's like, we know, pick a niche. Don't go in like 5 different directions within your umbrella of topics, right? Keep it dialed in. Like, if you're going to talk about fishing, maybe it's going to be about bass fishing and really go hard there. And then build awareness around that and help in that, whether it's producing content on Google or YouTube or Pinterest, and then building the email list, and then amplifying your content. And then from there, selling products, whether that's digital or physical or affiliate products. So I just look at it as like, instead of looking at it as a product, you're looking at it as, what does your brand represent in the niche or in the marketplace? That's, to me, now it's not about building a personal brand, although you can still use the same principles, but it's about, how do you, like, when someone arrives at your website, they're like, this is the best resource on this topic.
This is what this person, like, I love that word congruency that you use there too. Like if you sell 5 products, they're all in congruent relationships.
You can cross promote them, right?
Yeah. So basically that's what a brand is. It's just, I don't just sell shampoo. I sell Shane's shampoo, which is whatever, right? And it just makes sense. It's like there's a lifestyle attached to it or something like that.
Well, but think about this for a second. You and I both know this. If it's so much easier to sell that customer something else than it is to find a new customer.
Dude, that's what memberships are. You just get them to pay you again next month.
Exactly.
That's the point.
The same thing.
Right.
Yeah. If you have 5 products, right? Let's say you didn't have a membership, but you had 5 products. Those 5 products better be able to serve that same customer, instead of, just one product and then the other ones have nothing to do, right? With
topic. For sure. That we sell Membership Masters, what it sells. So like we teach people how to start, build, and grow a membership site, right? Yep. But then the next product is Membership Masters, which is marketing for subscriptions. Mm-hmm. It's a paper newsletter. I mail it out. It's like 15 pages, but it's like a calendar. And then the next thing is I sell the $1 million membership funnel, which is everything's about memberships. Sure. There's congruence along the congruency, even though they have like different things, is what you're saying, basically.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So what are the everyday things, though, to keep that congruency and not chase shiny objects and not get off the track? Like, how do you guys stay on your railroad track, from a day-to-day business? And then how do you, develop the brand out where you're adding the new things and you're adding these congruent products?
So there's like a couple of different things we can talk about. So one of them is content. Like, I believe that the content is really the gateway to your brand, right? The content is going to serve someone. And I don't care if it's a question, can I use rubber worms to catch bass? Like, there's a question. Answer that question. Make sure it's on your website. Someone comes there, we know that they're interested in catching more bass. Or if it's going to be about marketing, it might be like, how to sell more of my courses, right? There better be a topic on your website that calls to that or that attracts that person. So to me, it always stems with content, right? Your content is the gateway to your brand, period. And then the other thing is the email list allows you to build the know, like, and trust. We've all heard this, but you should hear it again because it so makes selling easier than ever before. So it's like, I'm always focusing on, how do I get more of the right people to pay attention, right? Whether that's through email, whether that's through the podcast, whether that's, whatever, a piece of content on Google, doesn't matter. How do I get that person so it's like qualifiers in a sense, that's going to give them a win or give them that was good, thank you, And then from there, how does that allow me to make offers, right? And those offers are in line with where they are going. Yeah. And I know you and I talked a little bit through Voelker. Like, I'm even doing this right now because I'm new to the membership game when it comes to the brand creators thing. I'm not new to it because I've done it for years, but on how I'm doing it, like currently right now, and you and I we can riff on this a little bit too when we get time, but basically, like, I'm doing the open and close right now. Yeah. And there's a reason why I'm doing it, but I'm also thinking about possibly doing, which our mutual friend Pat Flynn's doing, which he's going to by application only. Yeah. And I've done the dollar trials. I've done that stuff. And I know that you're a believer in that. I've done those. I don't know if I want to do it for this.
Yeah. It's all about that question's interesting because it's all about I love the content thing. Like, content builds your brand, people. Like, what do you want your brand to look like? Your content better look like that.
It'll
right?
shift it. Yeah.
But when you get inside, like, there's a difference so what you had before with the Photoshop site, I would actually differentiate between subscription and membership. Okay. I would call that more of a subscription service type thing. Like, it was like they're getting something regularly, but there's one thing missing. When you add that community, it becomes to me like membership. Because when I think of membership, I'm a member of the country club. I'm a member of the cigar bar. I'm a member of, there's a community element to that. And I think what you're saying, what's interesting is it's all about the avatar there, like what you're going to pick. Like, if like Pat wanted to make sure, especially with a new membership, he wanted to make sure that community was right. And then the community would draw in the right people, or people would recognize if they shouldn't be there. Right. Open close is very similar, especially in the beginning when you're doing beta. You got to open close at the beginning. I am a believer in leaving it open all the time, whether it's free trial or application. Right. Because you can riff off that with promotions better. I think it's just easier to say, hey, my monthly price is this, quarterly sale. Right. It's always there, but something's better for a limited time, you know? But if you really want to dial in your community and you've got a big audience, you can use the application process, and it'll kill it. It'll just kill, because those people you get in are gold forever. Your retention is going to be 11, 12, 15 months or something crazy. Right. Why did you not use the application in the beginning? Had you just not thought of it until Pat did it?
Yeah,
or were you
I really didn't think of it. I've done them in the past where I've done like even just the founders, not even founders members or founding members, but even like founding members of this course, right? I've always done the beta open and they always work really well. And it also gives you a good base of people to kind of help you shape the community, shape the membership and all that stuff. And that's what we did. And it worked really well.
How much is the membership a month? How much is it every month?
It's $99 a month. Or
that price point also leads to applications. Because if you're charging $20 for a thing, it doesn't make sense to do an application.
No, right. No,
But you're really trying
this to be
screen.
Premium. Yeah, you're totally screening.
Is there in the community element? Is there a connective element to it? Like, you're connecting them with each other as much as they're connecting with you, kind of thing?
We don't have that in place as of yet, which that you bring that up at, and we've actually talked about it recently, of like, how do we encourage them to create their own little mastermind, their own little group, their own little things, right? Again, part of the retention strategy. And it's all about, to me, it's like, yes, getting the new, but then keeping the people that are there, keeping them happy. And really, like you said, like, the content's bringing them in, but the community's making them stay.
Yeah. Right. James Schramko. Do you know James Schramko? Have you met him before?
I know of him. I haven't met him, no.
Yeah. He was on the podcast. You ought to listen to that. It's really, really good. He was one of my mentors coming up, and as we were building out our philosophies and things like that. And James said something to me I'll never forget one time. When we were accidentally doing the membership model when we launched. Like, we were charging every month for new lesson packs. It was the same people over and over, and we realized, bill them once, charge them forever. Duh. Right. And when we were talking about this, I was building out one of our membership sites, and I was talking to him on a mastermind call one day. And I was like, James, I got all the content in there. We're doing this member call, but like, what else do they get? Because it was like, what do I put in this thing? How much do I put in this thing? And I'll never forget him, because he talks so deadpan, dude. And like, half the time you don't know if he's going to smack you or help you. But like, James goes, each other. And I said, what? And he said, they have each other. And that's more valuable than the other two things put together.
Oh, wow.
And I will never, ever, ever forget him saying that. The second we made it the Flip Your Life community and not the Flip Your Life blueprint, we exploded. People joined, people came, and people freaking stayed. Right.
Okay.
So that one, like, we're talking about branding, those EDDs, like you said, like content, be consistent with that. Email marketing. Please, God, do that, guys. Don't listen to everybody else. Listen to Scott telling you about email marketing. Yeah. But then I think even in branding is like, we think so much about our brand colors and our logos and our content. Do you really think about the community culture you're creating? As much as you think about your next blog post, do you think about your next forum post? Right. It's really, really important as you're growing a community, because that's what makes them, that's what draws them in, man, and keeps them, So you ought to think about that for sure, dude. That connective tissue of the brand. Do you know what made my membership grow faster than anything else, Scott?
What's that?
I stopped answering all the questions in my forums and my Facebook groups.
That's funny that you say that. Yeah. Yeah. I've done a pretty good job at backing off on that. And to your point, it's been really, really exciting and interesting to see that happening. And they're not tagging me. Now, do they like it when I post in there? Of course.
Oh, sure. For sure. You got to be there sometimes, Yeah.
And we do 2 bi-weekly calls. So I'll show up for an hour, do live Q&A. So I do 2 calls. I'll also do random hot seats. So if someone has, which I love doing them, that's exciting for me, like jumping on with one of our BCA members and then giving them like just different advice on their sticking point and where they're at. And then the rest of the community gets to listen in on it.
Yeah.
Those are really cool.
What, did you say you're doing 2 calls a week, like Q&As?
No, 2 a month.
Oh, okay. You said bi-weekly. I was like, whoa, every other week. My Kentucky brain didn't translate that correctly, bro. I thought 2 a week. That's insane, man. No,
we do 2 a month.
Are you your community in a Facebook group, or are you doing it in something else?
Well, that's another thing. And I know I've been listening to you. I've also seen what Pat did with Circle. And I seen another guy that I'm following that he's done it with Circle. And I have some hesitations there. I really do. Man. I mean, Facebook group, I have it. It's been working. It's easy, right? They're already there. They don't need anything, right? They're used to it. And part of me wants to pull it and go into something like Circle. But then I also see, like, in the ones that I'm in, even Pat's for that matter, it's not as engaged as I would think it would be, or as much as it's getting. And I'm like, do I want to get rid of that? And then you go in there and it's like crickets. And then people come in and they're like, oh, there's nothing going on in here.
Yeah,
that's great.
I know. It's a weird thing, man. I think we were blessed because I don't know if we just stumbled upon the forum model and we did it really well by accident. But our forums have always, I don't think it was anything for me being so genius and spectacular. Right.
Yeah.
But I think we just really got it going and it worked. Right. And I've seen other people do it and I've seen other people struggle with it. And I'll tell you what we've been doing lately. Well, for one thing, Dan Miller came on the podcast. I don't know if it's out yet. I don't think it's out yet. By the time we are recording this, by the time this comes out, it will have been out. Dan said something really freaking fascinating to me. He said, Shane, I think he uses Mighty Networks, right?
Okay,
I know them. Yep. This goes back to culture. He said, if someone won't download the app I choose, are they the right fit for my membership? And I thought, wow, there is so much wisdom there. So maybe the avatar is the problem when you're not getting engagement in something like that. But I'll tell you what we've done since then. So we just switched all of our stuff over to Kajabi, right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm using Kajabi.
A lot of different reasons why we're using Kajabi. I won't go into here, but that's the platform that we have chosen. We have left the forum model and we're using the Kajabi community product now, right?
Oh, wow.
It's structured just like a forum. It says general questions, success talk, but it's more like a feed when you get in there, right? And we have a lot of like structural things, like we email people, like our members 3 times a week, like Monday, do you have any questions? Wednesday, do you need any help? Friday, what's your biggest win this week? Like, so we have some ways to draw them into that community, okay?
Sure.
But for the first time ever, I did add a Facebook group. Now, so we're doing like a hybrid model, right? Here's what we found is working really, really well. There is a line in between what happens in those 2 groups, okay? The Facebook group is for people are on Facebook to do what Facebook does. They want to share memes. They want to argue. They want to engage with each other. So that's all we do in that. So that keeps people engaged, right? We're seeing so many good comments in our community now. We're getting everybody in there, but we're seeing a lot of cool stuff. We also use it to create FOMO. If you quit the paid membership, right, we leave you in the Facebook group. We say our members and alumni are in the Facebook group, right?
Okay.
So we'll say, hey, there's a member call this week. It's in the forums if you need to go figure out what time it is. And we're finding that draws people back in because they know they still have a link to the community, right? But nothing answering questions happens in the Facebook group. If you want expertise in what we teach, you have to be paying. You have to use the Kajabi community, and you got to go log in, and you've got to learn how to do it, how bad you want it, right? So we've actually started doing that lately, man. I'm telling you, it's knocking our socks off. It's like looking like that's going to be the way to go, is to have that both. Like, I get you on your phone where you already live, but I also make you play by my rules to get the value out of the community. And every time I answer your question in there, you're like, dang, I got to pay $79 next month. I have to, because I'm getting
that's interesting
questions, you know?
Yeah, that's definitely an interesting take. And part of me is like, I'd love to have my own little space, right? That's not Facebook, right? Then part of me is like, I was almost ready to poll like the members and say, hey, this is what I'm thinking about doing. What's your take on it?
Dude, I would not do that. Do that. No, that's giving the customer the wheel to the ship, and they don't know where the rocks are. You know what I'm saying? It's almost, I think in that case, you've got to be the benevolent dictator and say, this is how we talk.
Yep.
Yes.
All right. Yeah.
I wonder if you could do too, like if you wanted to do that, I wonder if you could do Facebook group for a lower tier, and maybe you had like a 197 tier. Who those are the people who are more invested, so they're going to be more likely to pick something. And maybe that's different kind of access to you. Like maybe you drop to 1 call a month there and you do an extra call for those people. And then you get something like Circle that you could use that for.
Yeah, it could be small. It could be smaller, but yet, like you said, more intimate.
Yeah, man. And then you could have kind of best of the both worlds kind of thing.
It's not a bad idea.
Another thing we're doing with our Facebook group that I think you guys could really benefit from is, so you've got courses in the community area, right? Like trainings for branding and stuff like that, or
yeah. We got a whole email marketing accelerator program we just finished. We've got a whole Pinterest training. We've got all of the different components for traffic and for profit. Basically the two different elements.
Our director of retention came up with this idea. Carrie, shout out, love you. But so we were talking there today, and I was like, we do Q&As mainly to answer questions and to promote and to get YouTube content. That's what we're using it for, right? So that's paid Q&A. You ask me a question or Jocelyn a question, we answer your question. Standard for a membership. I'll tell you what we're doing. We're going to 1 call a month pretty soon, but we wanted to add more value, not less, right? Any group that's based on any kind of content has a core group of 80% of your members that are in a certain place, right? Like 20% of our people have already made it to where they're making a full-time living with memberships. Everybody else is moving toward that goal.
Sure.
Okay. So what people have asked us for a lot is more like not specifically Q&A, but like guidance through the courses, which we got comments, which handles that. So what she came up with was this. She's like, hey, what if we did like a challenge, but in the Facebook group, we don't give them everything. We don't let them ask questions about anything they want, but we actually say, hey, we're going to go through this part of the journey. Like, for example, coming up with your idea for your membership. Well, I have 3 courses for that. 1 is coming up with your idea. 2 is vetting your idea to make sure it can make money. And 3 is actually making the choice between 2 ideas. So there's 3 30-minute courses in our thing. We're going to do this in October. We're going to roll these out. 1, 2, 3, right? Each week, we're going to have a watch party in the Facebook group. So we get our alumni that might want to come back involved. We get our people involved who are in that phase. My team can answer questions, or I can jump in and answer in the chat, whatever, right? And then we're moving 1 Q&A at the end of the month that'll kind of consolidate some of that. So now, instead of those 2 calls, they're getting something every week. We're mixing it where, hey, you get this little nugget in the Facebook group about one thing, one topic. We're not answering questions about anything else. And then there's a Q&A if you got more. So it's removed work from me. It's removed me from the equation. And now my team can be more engaged, right? And the community gets more. So there's so many ways you can do it, dude. Like we could jam on.
No, I love all that. I got something for you. I know that you said that you that you've done like the smaller courses to kind of lead people in and all of that stuff, and then you kind of compile them. I'm playing around with this idea, and that is I'm just going to basically teach one section. Like, so if, let's say it's email list building, it's going to be how to create, how to come up with your lead magnet, how to create your lead magnet, how to put it up on a landing page, how to create a thank you page, how to connect it to an autoresponder. Like it's going to be a 3-hour workshop. It's going to basically be, I don't know, $37, $47. We're basically going to teach it, done, right? Eventually we'll turn that into evergreen. People go through that training. They get that win, right? They're like, holy crap, that was awesome, right? And then what we can do is send them a private invitation to join inside of BCA. This way here, we have a front end offer, right? Which again, I'm trying to not complicate the business. Every time you add a new thing in there, you have a new funnel and you have this. I don't want that. I want it to just be, here's the suite of workshops. You can pick whichever one you want, wherever you're coming in at, $37, $47, whatever. on the back end, obviously we'll have a bump or we'll have a little mini upsell, but that upsell would really probably just be a private invitation to join BCA because you've qualified yourself because you
paid money.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts on that?
Dude, I got a buddy. His name's Joe Daniel. He's over at footballdefense.com if you want to go check out Joe. So Joe taught me something that was miraculous. Like we actually do this in a downsell sequence.
Okay.
So it's for people that leave. So but it doesn't matter which way you put it. So what he does is you run the little ad for the little course. Say your course is $97 or $47 or whatever it is. He does something genius. When they get to the options part, like it goes sales page, options page, checkout, right? Mm-hmm. He puts the membership beside the course for the same price. And he's like, hey, you've already decided you're going to get this course. Mm-hmm. And then he gets a certain percentage of people that go ahead and join. And if they don't join, then the upsell is still join the membership. I just want the course right now. Well, then 3 days later, you get an email and be like, are you sure? I'll give you a discount for the first month. Or you can say you get today's price off instead of doing a free trial. Say your course is $47, but your membership is $97. You can have them side by side and put X 47 first month, then 97. So you get that same pricing thing there. So I would
just discounting the first month, 50% off or whatever.
Yeah, because they're paying the thing anyway. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think you could test it, bookend it like that. I've seen that work. Exceptional. Joe Nicoletti. Do you know Joe Nicoletti?
No.
He does a website called Learn Scrivener Fast. He actually is a master.
Actually, I do know him. Actually,
Joseph Michael.
Panel.
That's his code name.
I think I was sitting on a panel with him at I forget what event now, but I was sitting on a panel talking webinars. Yeah.
He goes by Joseph Michael because when he started, he didn't want his boss to know that he was starting a business. Yes. So he created a code name.
Yeah. That's funny.
But he is a master at all of his front end is courses. Like if you want to go through a good funnel, go to Learn Scrivener Fast and buy that course and watch that rabbit hole go. He calls it the funnel of death. But like on the back end of that, he sells his membership. That's the only way he sells his stuff. And he really embraces all roads lead to the membership. All my courses I'm selling on affiliates.
And that's where I'm at.
Yeah. And he does a great job. But that takes the application out of it because they're already qualified.
They've already qualified because that is the application. They bought something. In line with where you're leading them. But the other reason why I want to do this is because it's also a great front end offer to liquidate the ad spend when you start running Facebook ads, which is a whole nother conversation we could have. But it's like, that's always like, how do I make sure that the ad costs coming in, we can cover costs so we can scale it, or at least look at your acquisition costs as far as getting a member.
Yeah. Right? You want me to tell you how we do it? I'll tell you exactly how we do it. So this costs a lot of money to buy from here in my course, guys. So I'm about to give you a freebie here for the foundations. Okay. So the first thing we do is we don't usually sell the courses by themselves. I usually give away my courses for the lead. Okay. Then we take them. The thank you page is always the first sales page for the next thing. That's our rule. Like we don't just have a thanks, you're done. Like you got to go somewhere else.
Of course. Right.
So the next thing that we try to sell is a free trial to our membership. Doesn't matter what it is. I call it the price of least resistance. What's the best price your people will join? You can use a free trial. I got a buddy named Jason Brown does $1,000 join fee. It doesn't matter what's best for your niche. So when people decide to take that thing, which might be your course you're buying, we always have an order bump that's going to be the first part of something else. So like usually my order bump is either the first part of the $1 Million membership funnel, or it's Membership Masters newsletter, or it's something completely related but unrelated. I'm going to tell you later, right? Now, here's the magic. On the thank you page, you upsell a quarterly discount that's insane. Okay. I'm talking 50% off. Okay. At least. And I learned this from Jermaine Griggs, who is an old school Frank Kern level type internet marketer guy. So what happens is this. Let's say I'm doing my free trial. I do a free trial. You sign up for the free trial. On the thank you page, I've got a video that says, hey, I'm going to send you your username and password in 15 minutes. While you wait, watch this mandatory tour, all caps. Because there's some copywriting magic here. Okay. Got a little 3-minute video where I click around in what they just bought and go, look at this, this is awesome, look at this. Oh, by the way, the people that succeed the most in our community are the people who are committed to the process. The quarterly members, the annual members, the people that are around a long time and say, I'm not going to give up. I'm not going to quit.
Mm-hmm.
I want to give you the opportunity to be one of those people, not the people that are going to quit in 30 days, not the people that are going to give up. I want you to commit to the process. If you'll commit for 90 days, I'll give you 50% off for life. And then you have a one-click upsell that goes into quarterly. Okay.
Gotcha.
So ours is $100 a month. That quarterly works out to $150 a quarter for that huge discount. Now here's the catch. So people, there's no catch really, but here's the thing. What happens? Usually 1 or 2 people out of 10 will take that quarterly offer. Every time we get a quarterly, we go dump that into an ad spend. And now we're spitting out these monthly members. So the quarterly pays for the next crop of monthly. The quarterly pays for the next crop of the monthly. Easy upsell. If you offer it, you're going to get some percentage. We've seen anywhere from 17 to 35% convert, right?
Wow.
Yeah, man. He told me that. When he told me that, dude, I was in Nashville at a conference, and I met him, and I was talking to him out in the hall, and he told me that, and I was like, you're lying. And he goes, I'm serious. I go, they just took a free trial. Why would they commit? And he goes, I'm telling you, do it, and you'll see. And it's true. It works. So now we liquidate our ad spend with that little quarterly upsell. That's how much we spend on ads. How many quarterlies did we have last month? That's how much we spend on ads. And that creates the next crop of members that now your onboarding takes over, your retention takes over. And you're just, so I would highly recommend any upsell be that off the membership part, be that quarterly membership. You're going to get long-term members. Our quarterlies stay the longest of any other LTV.
Wow, that's interesting.
Happens. And now I don't think that would be true if we didn't sell a monthly. Right. But dude, we've killed it this summer, Scott. Freaking with that upsell, man.
I'll definitely look into that. We haven't even talked about offering a quarterly. It's interesting.
Yeah. Well, my philosophy for all advertising of memberships is your core offer is a monthly membership. Okay. And you promote other offers, lifetime, annual, 6-month, quarterly, or free trial. So that's my core marketing strategy basically is, well, like January is an annual sale. Every summer, spring, winter, and fall, here comes the quarterly offer, right? That we let it be public, or we'll bundle it with Membership Masters. That's what we do, right?
Okay.
So yeah, man, these other offers let you promote all the time.
And then I'm sure at that point you probably get your current members that are like, well, hey, I'm monthly. Can I get the quarterly? And then
TV just went up. Hey, yeah. It extends lifetime value every time. If you can get 5% of your members every quarter to upgrade, they're going to stay longer than they would have stayed if they were just on the monthly forever.
No,
hey, wouldn't you love to get rid of your monthly payments? Let's do a quarterly and annual. But those are my open close moments. I don't open close my membership. I open close promotions like that. Right.
I got you. Okay.
Yeah. And I'll usually tag a bonus with it, like something that we'll take videos from Flip Your Life Live or something I just make on the fly just to give a little bonus or something,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Hey, let's dive into real quick your paper newsletter, your one that you mail to people. I'm interested in that model.
Dude.
And I want to share. Have you ever heard of Ben Settle?
Ben Settle's my boy.
Okay.
Yeah, I know. That's who gets. I paid for Ben Settle's newsletter for 2 years. I looked down and went, "This is stupid. I can do this." Right?
But here's the crazy thing is, right? The thing that I love about Ben Settle is his simplicity of I just write emails. I don't care about my opens, my clicks, and all this stuff, right?
That's right, baby.
And then he's like, and here's the crazy thing, is in every single email that I write. I gotta wait for you to get your earbuds in.
Hold on, my bad. So, I was trying to reach back and find one of these newsletters so I could show it to you, but I'll find it in a minute. What were you saying?
So what I love about it is his business model is so simple, at least on the front, that he's like, I write a daily email. Every single time I write an email, I only put one link. It's at the very bottom, and it said, join email players.
Email players,
whatever. Yeah, right, whatever. And he goes, I've got a much greater chance of just selling my stuff because I'm sending out extra messages that you're not. So that's like the big takeaway, right? The second thing is he's like, if you ever want to cancel, you're not coming back in.
No, I don't do that. I don't do that because.
But isn't that crazy?
It is crazy,
man. Isn't that crazy?
Dude, when I was a member forever, and I did cancel, and I thought I really had to think about it.
I was going to say, when you're getting ready to hit cancel, what was going through your mind?
Oh, dude, it was scary, and it was funny as man. It's true. He cuts you off. Like he used to,
so
we used to
funny.
email back and forth, and he's like, "Ah, you're out." So it's like,
That's
really
beautiful.
Yeah, but so here's what. So I was inspired by him to do the paper newsletter, and I went through about a year and a half of testing products like ClickFunnels, Kajabi. I really wanted to find the product that I thought I could truly recommend to my people that would help them succeed faster. And Kajabi's core value mission statement is to make technology not a factor for anyone who wants to sell what they know. That resonated with me. I bought Kajabi and I was like, what can I build on this that I could launch and see what happened? I went up to the local print shop, asked the guy, if I send you a PDF and a list every month, could you all mail this out for me? And he's like, yeah, why not? So then I had to figure out what was going to be in my paper newsletter. So I started asking myself, like, well, I really don't want to teach copywriting or email marketing or anything like that. Like, what do I really want to teach is the difference between marketing a membership compared to a course or coaching. Because it's different. I mean, the way, like we just talked about, like you hadn't thought about offering a quarterly, like that's a thing you got to know, right? Going into a membership market. So I was talking to Jocelyn one day, and I was making our calendar for our marketing. And basically we were just talking. I'm like, do you think I could sell this to people? He's like, yeah, I don't know why you couldn't. So I wrote an article about the month. I put a calendar in the middle of the newsletter, and then I just went one paragraph a day and explained what we were doing. Like, it's September 3rd. You're doing this because of this. You're doing this. Why are we doing this? Well, I'm getting ready for this. Like, so it was like, I think it was like July. It was August. So that's a big back to school period. So I was talking about the back to school promotions. I did a little preview to get ready for a Labor Day sale and how you should, structure that. And basically it was just like a 15-page stapled paper that showed you what to market, how to market every day. And I rolled that out to my list. It became a $10,000 a month business the first month.
That's crazy.
And literally all it is I promote it to our members only. I usually don't even promote that publicly, except on this podcast, right? And I give the first month away free plus shipping, $14.95, right? And then it's the main price is $197 a month, and my discounts play off of about 50% of that on quarterlies and annuals. Okay. And it kills it. It freaking kills it. I mean, it is a substantial percentage of our revenue now, dude. It's so awesome. Like, it's 1 week of our life. I know eventually I'll be able to meet with a team and they do it, right? I'm still writing it. Jocelyn is the editor, and my kids pack them and mail them. Isaac and Anna pack them. There's a little sticker we put inside of it that says "Packed by Isaac and Anna Joe." Nice. Right? But I actually leased a commercial printer, and we do it all in house now, man. Like, it's $300 a month. Wow! It staples it and folds it. It looks professional. We hole punch it. We put it in an envelope. We put it in a hard mailer. Cost me I go to pirateship.com and we print the labels. Cost me like about $5, somewhere between $3 and $5, depending on where you are. Wow. To mail it, dude, and we charge $200 for it, but it's worth it. It's 100% worth. Like, I've had people that come in, they couldn't get anything going in their business. They realized that marketing was the why. They did exactly what we said. The next month they're making $3,000 a month, $4,000 a month, $5,000 a month, because they just know how to market now.
So how is that for you? Because I always look at, like, okay, now I gotta, anytime anyone's ever doing a membership or something, they got to show up monthly, right? Now in this case, you're giving them a monthly newsletter that's mailed to them. You got to sit down and say, I got to create this thing, right? It's kind of like me with the digital templates. Every month I was like, hey, honey, we got to get on that. Digital creation's coming up here. We got to give these people what they're paying for, right? Then it becomes a chore, and then you're like, oh my gosh, I don't like this. I don't care what I'm making for this. So how do you draw inspiration for that? So, well, for one thing, it's me. It's something that I geek out about. Like, I enjoy the process of looking at the calendar and thinking, how am I going to upsell people? How am I going to get more people into the fold, right? How am I going to do this? So I really enjoy that process right now. But also it is built in it's built in kind of an agnostic way that eventually wouldn't need me. Okay. So, like, for example, it's not like I'm talking. It's not my voice. It's the content. Like, there's a main article that gives you the strategy behind what we're going to do that month. And then there's the calendar, which is going to tactically tell you what to do every day. Like, that's the whole thing. So I know that the transition, I planned it ahead of time. This, because again, we all learn and we get these gray hairs make us wiser. When I was developing this, I was like, how could I remove myself? I thought about it at the beginning. So at first, my next bridge is I'm eventually going to hire a ghostwriter. We're going to meet once a month. I'm going to tell them what we're going to do in our own business.
and they will be able to write the article and fill out the calendar based on that audio recording or whatever, right? And then eventually I know that there's someone smarter than me that can write that article better and would probably create a better marketing calendar than me. Someone out there exists. Everybody's replaceable, even you and your brand. So eventually our goal will be to hire the best copywriter and marketer that money can buy, and they will come in and be smarter than me and do a better job at that newsletter than I could, and we'll hire them to do it, right? So it's just a growth pattern. When we get to a certain point of revenue, I'm going to go find that person. I'm going to pay them $75,000, $80,000 a year, and they're going to create the thing. Now, I'll still be involved as editor-in-chief, right? But that's just the game plan.
There's no community element to that.
No, well, there is. Anything we sell content-based, we always add them into the Flip Your Life community. So if you buy, let's say you're a Membership Master subscriber, but you're not in the Flip Your Life community, you would still get access to the Flip Your Life forums and the Facebook group. And we just keep them together. And now here's on that too, at the same time, and Membership Masters is a Ascension product as well. So most of the people that subscribe are in the community. Right.
Got it.
But when you join the Flip Your Life community, going through the Flip Your Life blueprint, there's going to come a point where you've got your membership launched. Maybe you got 100, 150 members, and you're like, man, I kind of got this point. What's next? That's our LTV. What's next product?
Got it.
That's the pay us forever. Like, we're going to tell you what to do every month forever. You want this, you know?
Yeah. No, I like that.
That's where it fits in. And so everybody's kind of still together. They get to talk to their friends. If someone quits, it gives us an easy downsell, or actually it's an upsell. It's like, hey, well, you don't want to be a part of this anymore because you don't need the blueprint anymore. You still love your friends. You love Q&As. Why don't you just subscribe? And they just subscribe into that, and they go. Now, I will say this, that membership newsletter is based on daily email marketing. So I am hardcore believer in email your list every day. I have seen that work for us since 2015. I give myself a raise every day, every time I hit send. What is your draw of inspiration there for your dailies? If I can't think of nothing, I've got a bank of questions, like what's frustrating you, what are you struggling with, and then I'll let people come back in. The beauty of having a community is any day I can open my forums and I can grab someone's post and answer it on an email. And then our sales promotions take up about 20-30% of that each month, so that's easy because then it's just open, close, whatever the deal. Typically, what's your call to action in there? Free trial. Okay. Almost always, unless I'm selling something different at that time. But if I'm writing an article, like I got this thing too, I do 5 fails Friday. I talk about 5 places I screwed up last week. You know what I'm saying? And I'll just write it out, and then at the end I'll be like, if you want to join a free trial, come on in. You can make mistakes with the rest of us. Just somehow spin it back in the PS or at the end to whatever. But free trial pitch every day, leaving those breadcrumbs in people's inboxes, and I don't complicate the content. Like, just freaking what happened to you? What'd you eat for breakfast? Talk about it. Yeah. What are you doing as far as, are you segmenting anybody that's already a current member, or you don't care? Ish. It depends on the content. Like that 5 fails Friday, I usually send to everybody, member or not, because everybody loves it. And then there's different segments for sure. Like, we try to segment our list into non-buyers, buyers, past buyers. So basically that's current members, past members is what it would be for us. And we do tag people. Like if I like Jocelyn sells coaching. So if someone's clicked on that, we'll tag them. So we just emailed out just to that cohort. Gotcha. Jocelyn just opened some spots. So, what not heavily though. I'm scarily enough, dude. I've been in Infusionsoft forever, and we're using Kajabi now though. I've transitioned. Really? Okay. Yeah, I'm liking it. I've been comparing open rates between Infusion. I think Kajabi's open rates are a little less. I think they're still figuring out their servers and their relationships with email providers and things like that. Do they have the feature in there to segment out your cold to warm? Oh yeah, man. You can tag, you can you can do everything you need to do. You can tag them, opens and clicks. You can build little audiences within it based on tags and yeah. We're using Kajabi, but we're not using their email function. We're using ConvertKit. We've went from I started with Aweber, then went to where did we go next? Oh, we went to Infusionsoft, then we went to that's the exact path. We followed. Then we went to ClickFunnels. Then ClickFunnels did away with their service, but still kept it. But you were then going through SendGrid, and then from there we went into ActiveCampaign, and then we said, "Screw it, we're going to ConvertKit." And I've been really happy with ConvertKit. Our open rates are actually better. I think in a perfect world, I might do something like use an active campaign for email, Kajabi for sale, whatever.
Yeah.
But as our core mission states, like anything we use, our people have to be able to figure out.
Yep.
So that's a big thing for us. And
Not as
also,
easy.
man, dude, from hiring perspective, like I hired a marketing tech back in like March, and it was like, here, go to Kajabi University. You'll know how to use the whole platform in a week.
Yep.
Right. So I don't have to have a tech person.
No.
So it just made it like the trade-off there for me was I'll trade a little bit of open rate maybe for really, really powerful team being able to use this platform.
Simplicity.
Yeah, simplicity.
Without a
man.
doubt.
Yeah, man.
Without a doubt.
It's all trade-offs, dude.
Yeah.
I got one question for you before we finish up here, man, because we're gonna talk for 5 hours if we don't.
I know.
But that's cool. That's what we're here for, right?
Yeah.
So the book interests me. The book interests me, and this newsletter into physical products also has got me really fired. Like we're about to launch a newsletter for the Flip Your Life community because we think it's going to skyrocket retention. It's going to be like a one-page church bulletin, though. It's not going to be like a big a deal.
Yep.
Like, do you think that physical products, especially with Amazon and things like that, like I see so many people adding supplement lines and adding book funnels and these physical things that they mail out. And I heard a great quote last week from George Clooney. He started his tequila company because he wanted to sell something people physically that they held in their hand that they loved, but it was something that they ran out of, right? So they wanted more or they wanted the next thing, you know?
Yeah.
Based on what you've learned about physical products, book selling, and things like that, do you think that really is a good brand enhancer to add that physical stuff? Have you seen benefits for that? And are you going to do that in your membership right now?
Yeah, absolutely. Do I see huge benefits? Like Clooney said, if you can find something that runs out of, that's like golden, right? Like there's your subscription model right there.
Yeah, that's the newsletter. I figured they'd run out of the month and they need another month, you know?
Yeah, but we've seen like Michael Hyatt do the planner, the journal.
John Lee Dumas, he's got his journal.
Yep, Brendan Burchard, like they've all done their journals. So if you have a brand like that and you could offer your journal or something to that effect to fill in the blanks or whatever that they could get physical, I definitely think that there's a huge benefit, not just for money, but retention.
Yeah.
I think 100%. If you are in the health space and you came out with your supplement line, of course, that's going to be, just another extension of what you offer. But I wouldn't go out of my way to try to force that. I would only do, and honestly, if I was to like start here all over again, it wouldn't be starting with a physical product and working backwards. It would be digital to physical.
Oh, I got you.
That's how I would do it, because physical, people don't realize it's an inventory nightmare. It's a cash flow suck, because you have inventory that's sitting there waiting to be sold.
Yeah. Do you inventory your books like that? Do you order a bunch of books at one time?
No, actually I did for the show, for the conference. I ordered 300 for the conference, all hardcover. And then now it's basically print on demand. So if you buy it, they print it, they send it to you. You know what I mean? It's
amazing. Who do you use for that? I'm looking. Yeah.
Well, I've got them listed through Amazon. So you're using Amazon print on demand.
Oh, okay. Gotcha.
The one for hardcover, I think, is Lion something another. It's one of the major ones that I got hooked up with through the book publisher. But yeah, and I self-published this, so this wasn't a book deal. I didn't want to go down the book deal.
I'm a big believer in that, dude. Like, I think your first book you self-publish, and your second book you try to do the book deal route.
Yeah, if you want to. Yeah, but I just wanted more control over it.
Yeah.
But that's it. But to answer your question, I think there's always added, and we've even talked about that even with our membership, even if it's just sending them a shirt the minute they join. Like,
for sure.
There it is. You got your cape, right?
Yeah, that's right, man.
Here you are. It's I think that's big. Or I forget who it was years ago. I think I bought something from Frank Kern, and I got a cookie in the mail. And
like
it was
actually like cooked cookie, like a chocolate chip cookie or something.
Yeah, it was like a chocolate chip cookie in a wrapper, and it was like, enjoy the first lesson with a sweet treat, or something weird like that. But it was like he did that in a way to kind of like give you something physical along with his newsletter or whatever it was that I purchased at
that you would remember, basically.
Yeah, it was just like something different.
I've been thinking about physical products a lot lately because retention and stuff. And like, I've been trying to think of like, well, how can I get in someone's life? Like I sell these, like we got these mugs. We found this stoneware company. So we don't sell them. We just order crap for ourselves that has our logo on it, you know?
Right.
And I thought, man, what if you could send people, like you had the coffee mug and like now you're having coffee with them every day. What if you could, 100%. Like you got AirPods in, like what if you could logo your AirPods and give them a piece of AirPods and just make it a loss leader?
I do a 3-day-a-week to coffee talk, I call it, and where I just jump on Facebook Live every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. And I basically meet with some people and we have coffee. And so she's like, you really just got to get a coffee mug that basically says "Take Action Crew," and that's everybody that joins that. We can send them one, you know. Yeah, they don't have to be part of the community yet, but that's just a way to get them into the ecosystem. And it's like, or maybe you give it away as a prize or whatever.
Yeah.
Right?
And it's just math. Like for example, like if I'm getting, say I can get a member for $19 or something. Right. Okay. I know that. So I charge $19 a month. I'll be profitable in the second month. Well, maybe I give up the second month to ship them a mug. And then by the third, fourth, fifth, sixth month, I'm making money. It doesn't matter at that point, you know?
Right. Absolutely.
But getting in people's life, that's what I really want to do with my physical product strategy for my membership. Like I think pins are not bad. Like that's not like imagine if you sent somebody 10 Flip Lifestyle pins or brand accelerator pins, or like they're going to use them forever and they're going to remember you.
Right.
You know?
They're going to look at it when they see their pen and they're going to know that they're doing something with it that's going to hopefully benefit them,
you know, and so stuff.
But yeah, listen, dude, I would just be careful on the physical product side of thing though, man.
Yeah, I hear you, dude. I hear you. I slow roll that because it's hard enough mailing out 15 pieces of paper.
Exactly.
that I print in my living room on my office. You know what I mean? So the other stuff, I'm slow rolling it, man. I'm a big. I make my own T-shirts. Jocelyn laughs at me. I'll get on Teespring. I'll have an idea, and I'll be like, I'm making it. I want to make it. I want this shirt, so I make my own shirts. You know. Well, listen, man. Awesome. We've talked for 2 hours, but I appreciate you, dude, so much, man, for giving me your time and hanging out. And man, it's good to finally connect and get to know each other.
I know, right?
And but before we go, man, tell everybody everywhere they can find you online if they want to reach out and talk more about branding and stuff like that.
Yeah. Basically, if you're listening to this on a podcast, you just go to Apple, iTunes, or Stitcher, wherever you're hearing this right now. Probably search for brand or Rock Your Brand podcast. You'll find me. Or just go to brandcreators.com and you'll find all of the episodes there, plus any blog content that we have. And that's where I'm usually hanging out. That's about it.
Scott Voelker, you're the man, bro. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Shane. Appreciate it, man.
All right, guys, that is all the time that we have for today's show. I know you had as much fun as I did on today's Membership Masters podcast. If you appreciate the work that we're doing here at Membership Masters for you and your membership-based business, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Go leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to audio content. And please make sure you give this episode a share on your favorite social media network of choice. Help us spread the word. Help us get it out there that memberships are where it's at. And if you want to build $1 million membership of your own, I would love to help you do it every single day. All you have to do is subscribe to the Membership Masters newsletter. The Membership Masters newsletter is the #1 membership marketing newsletter in the world. Each month, I send you my exclusive top shelf print newsletter right to your mailbox. Inside, you will find step-by-step instructions on how to drive more traffic to your membership and daily instruction on how to get and keep more members every single month. Each month is written in real time and gives you everything you need to give yourself a raise every day in your membership. Membership Masters newsletter subscribers get exclusive $1 million membership funnel guides, a detailed daily marketing calendar designed exclusively for memberships, email templates and subject lines you can send to your list, as well as traffic strategies and retention tactics that keep members coming and paying month after month, year after year. I am so confident you will love the Membership Masters newsletter. I'd love to send you your first copy for free. All you have to do is go to membershipmasters.com and you can sign up for your first issue free today. Stop struggling with your membership marketing. Sign up for your first issue of the Membership Masters newsletter today for free, and I'll help you get and keep more members this month. That's all the time we have for this week. Until next time, be consistent, be prolific, Be relentless. Get out there and build $1 million membership of your own. We'll see you next time.